starting with text mining, and we're starting with identifying the gold in them hills, right? There's gold in them hills with
so
the text mining.
I say my codes, they're not credible, I don't trust the data I'm seeing. We're going after that unstructured text.
Exactly. How many of you have an EAM system where the failure codes are maybe 10% of the time populated? It's very common across our customer base. So we're going after mining the gold out of that first, and then we're going to apply the same problem set and these same algorithms to time series data so that we can spot patterns and trends in your machine real-time information.
And if we can do that, it's not just that we're detecting anomalies, we're going to be prescriptive, right? We'll say, right. We'll know that within a forecast, within some confidence, we think this might happen based on previous conditions and previous events.
Exactly. It's all about intelligent asset strategies, and that's the problem we're going to solve.
We're not just going to talk about this, are we?
No, we're Missouri. We're the show me state. So
right.
we're gonna set up an example here.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So while Chris gets the surface there, let me set this up. So just like real life, we're going to play our real life role. So Chris is the eternal pessimist at Meridium. So he likes to use a different word, but let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah, you use a different word too sometimes.
Sometimes I do. I'm the eternal optimist. So Chris is going to be playing defense. I'm going to be playing offense and try to score. So he's going to try to stump me and keep me from scoring here. So ready, Chris?
Kick it off. Let's go. Hey, Jason, I'm looking at our asset performance data on this dashboard I put together for myself. And, you know, I am befuddled. I look at this and we've got reactive work costs. You know what reactive work is?
Reactive work is bad, Chris.
It's bad. We break the schedule. We go away from our planned work. It's emergency. Something's failed. But then I look at my distribution by count and cost. What's it showing me for failures? 8% of events?
Right.
That's not right.
No, it can't be right, Chris. Based on that reactive work percent, it can't be right.
So anyway, you know, that's a little bit of a barrier, but you know, I know we have pump issues. So I just went, I did a Pareto of our maintainable item code to see what's failing on our pumps so we know where to start to make some improvements. And you know what came up? Number one, we've had 2,500 pump failures across this timeline. You know what came up as number one? Nothing. Nothing's failed.
We see that all the time, Chris. So it's either nothing or unknown. That's the most common categories that we run into.
Well, I can't do anything with this. How can I improve our asset performance with this kind of data?
Well, let's take a look. I think we might have a solution for you.
All right, it's third down, man.
Third down, all right. So, earlier you were talking about how you were having problems identifying whether something was a failure or not.
Right.
Okay, so I've launched our cognitive analytics overview screen, and I'm gonna launch this failure classifier. Now, a classifier is a very technical thing that you put a lot of data into, and out comes a prediction or a result. So at Meridium, we try to simplify these things down so that if you can build a query in Meridium, you're able to run our failure classifiers and to get the results out of them. So let's stop talking about it, let's take a look. So I'm gonna click this test results here. Now what's happening in the background is all this information is being submitted up to the cloud using that hybrid on-prem cloud model that we talked about earlier. Information is being split apart into the text, it's being mined, and we're making predictions based on this information. So if we see here, we got our results back, and simply by submitting this event long description, we got back some predictions here.
Okay, so this classifier is looking at this unstructured text, and it's interrogating it based on the algorithms that we've trained with our asset answers database, and it's giving me a prediction of whether it's a failure or not, and it's giving me a probability rating as well. Basically the confidence, just like the caption bot when it said, I'm not really confident, or I am very confident.
Exactly, Chris. So not only do you get a prediction, but you also get a confidence factor. And that can be used so you can gauge how well the algorithm is working.
Got it, got it.
Yep.
I think I can use that.
I think you can. I would consider that a first down, Chris.
Okay. Well, yeah, you got me there. All right. But wait a minute. Sure, I know what events are failures, but what failed? That doesn't help me with that Pareto chart, does it?
Right, so knowing whether something's a failure or not only gets you so far. So the next step is to say, all right, what was it that actually failed? So we've got you covered there as well.
Show me. This is show me. Come on, you heard Eddie.
Show me.
Show me.
So this is another of the classifiers that we're providing out of the box in the product. And these are trained on Asset Answers industry data. So this classifier Again, you configure it with a query. Now, when I click test results, it's going to submit all that information to the cloud, mine that text information, looking to see what was the maintainable item that actually failed. So when we get these results back, let's take a look at them. So you can see here we have, let's look at this second one here. Extremely low pressure, pulled pump and inspected clearance, found impeller broken, needs immediate fix. So the user who entered that classified that as an unknown maintainable item. So let's see what the algorithm said. Algorithm says impeller.
Impeller, and our field folks said unknown.
That's right. Algorithm wins.
Algorithm wins. Yeah, that is awesome. That will give me a good distribution of my my failed items.
That's
my
right.
failures.
So now you know what failed, and we can also show you from that same information, you know, these details about it.
I can use that data. I can make some improvements off that data.
That's right.
Right.
Exactly.
I guess that's
That is a first down.
another first down. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you crossed the 50 here.
That's right.
Wait a minute. Asset answers, I get it. Great data, but you know we're special. You know,
Okay.
my data's different. My data's different.
Yeah,
I'm special.
we
You know
hear that
right?
a lot, Chris.
We have special needs.
We hear that a lot. We hear that a lot. So at Meridium, we don't just build point solutions. We build frameworks, we build infrastructure, and content that delivers value. So let's take a look at how you might adapt this to your own information.
Okay, I'm listening.
All right, so let's go back to this is a failure classifier here. One thing that we didn't point out was this little thumbs up, thumbs down. So like all things Meridium, we try to simplify that. So we put the power in your hands. If you look at this thumbs up, thumbs down, this is the way that we train the algorithm. So you can review these results, and if you're not happy with a prediction, all you have to do is give it a thumbs down, submit this back for training, and the next time the algorithm encounters that information, it's going to be more likely to come up with this correct prediction.
So let me get this straight. I can take the content that we provide and the algorithms that we provide trained on asset answers data, and I can apply that to my data and train it and make it more accurate for my needs.
That's right. So there's a couple of different scenarios that we cover. We cover using the asset answers training data set in its entirety. We cover using that and adding your own knowledge to the algorithm. And we also cover situations where if you want to start fresh and you want to train up an algorithm completely on your data, you have that option as well.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, where I come from, that's a first down.
Yeah, now you're in the red zone on me. Okay, all right. But wait a minute. That's awesome. I can do that.
Right.
Even I can do that. I can write a query.
Which says something, right?
It does. It does. But I don't have the time to do this every week. I don't have time to do this every month. I mean, this is awesome. I do it for a while, and then other things would come along, and I'm just worried about the sustainability of this.
Good point, Chris. I'm sure everyone here in this audience has been involved or around an IT project to do data cleanup at some point in their career. And how many of those start with great gusto? They start with a bang, and then they just kind of fizzle out. And what we found is usually why they fizzle is a lack of automation. So these things need to be sustainable, and they need to be a program. So let's take a look at our offering here to see how we've made this a sustainable process. So now I'm going to launch this Event Classification Cognition, or COG for short. So these COGs are the way that we apply these classifiers and apply this mapping logic in an automated way so that it happens as soon as data comes into the system. So what I want to show you here is our Design tab. So this is our design surface where we have a set of inputs which come from your data set in Meridium, stored in Meridium. We have a set of logic, which is the logic that you want to apply to that information and process through the algorithms. And you see we have classifiers, case.
Yeah.
Lots of things that you'd find familiar in Policy Manager if you're used to that application. And then we have our output structure. And our output structure is that cleaned up, common structure that you're going to use for reporting on this information.
Okay.
Here in the center of the design surface, we have a very simple mapping. This is a one-to-one mapping event ID as an input to event ID as an output.
So show me a classifier. That's what we were looking at before. How would I get a classifier in there?
All right, so remember our failure classifier?
Yep.
Let's come down here. Let's look at this. Okay, so here's our design surface for our failure classifier. So we're able to take information from event long description, event short description, failure mode description, combine that together, and submit it to the classifier. And the output of that is true or false, whether or not it's a failure.
Well, let me get this straight then. I could put in any manner of fields into this classifier. I'm just not limited to one. So I picked 3 here, and that's going to give me a determination of whether the event was a failure or not.
That's right.
And the maintainable item would work the same way, and all the other classifiers would work similarly.
All the other classifiers would work exactly the same way.
And then I could apply additional logic to that, right, in addition to the classifier. Well, that's pretty cool. And you said that I could base this on trigger of data coming in or on a schedule, very similar to our policy manager product.
Exactly. So this information, this can be scheduled in the background, run on a regular basis, or this can be triggered as soon as data comes in from your EAM system. So any of you are using SAP or Maximo or Oracle EAM, we can trigger this cleanup automatically as the data comes in.
So I noticed you had a link to a cognitive dashboard from the main page.
Do you want to take a look?
I do want to take a look. I do indeed. So let me come back to this and look at that dashboard. So this is what my dashboard might look like if I had clean data, right? And I can see my events are much more distributed based on my reactive nature of the work we've been doing month over month. I can see my failures count and costs are very high. And really, I look at this Pareto now, and I really can see what's failing on my pumps. That would be true for any of my equipment classes.
That's right. No more unknown there, Chris. Look at that.
Right. And then I can take that a step further and look at a Weibull analysis, a distribution analysis. I can take this data and move it into system modeling. Any of our analytical tools. In this case, I see I have a wear-out mode failure pattern with a beta above 1, 1.9, virtually 2. And my characteristic life is 30 days. 30 days for seals.
That's not good, Chris.
We gotta get to work on that. Thankfully, we have these other tools in Meridium that can help us with that.
That's right. That's right. Touchdown.
Touchdown. Good job. Awesome. All right, that was great. Thanks, Jason. You know, that was awesome, and it's just the first step, isn't it?
It's really just the first step, Chris.
Yeah.
Really just the first step. We started with this text mining, and we're pushing the envelope into analyzing real-time data, looking for patterns. Lots of interesting stuff going on in this area.
Right. And this is just the first step to take us into that failure forecasting for predictive risk correlation.
Exactly.
All right.